Welcome to today's Morning Cup. I wanted to talk a little bit about retention and how this can impact a lot of people. And what really kind of inspired that this morning was reading an article in Inc. magazine about how Etsy's cracking down on witches that are selling spells to help people get jobs. I get that, people are in desperate situations. They're willing to do anything that might help or that might at least give them some kind of comfort. I'm not going to comment directly on that. I can get where people are in different situations. It can be problematic when people are preying on people who are vulnerable in those respects. Different matter. But what I did want to talk about is things that can be done by people in a material sense to help avoid those situations in the first place. And that is really getting deeper into the topic of retention, especially in light of last month's job numbers, 92,000 jobs lost. And there's always turbulence. Even in great economies, people can lose jobs, things happen, conditions change. You lose clients as a business person. You lose the golden goose, which is really traumatic for a small business owner. But there are steps that can be done to influence those things from happening or not happening. And that's really what I wanted to touch on this morning. And it's one of those situations where when I do presentations, I do some public speaking, I do different trainings and stuff like that, is that people, a lot of the people out there in your audience are not going to take and implement what they've learned, even when they've paid for it. And it's really unfortunate because they're failing themselves right out of the gate. And so this is a very short clip I made. It's about a minute long. I want to share with you. If you're listening on the podcast, it's got an audio track, so you'll be listening to that. It's not like it'll be dead air. It's about a minute or so. So I'm going to go ahead and start that, and I'll be right back.
When you stand at the crossroads of decision, remember this. The moment you choose to act, you set yourself apart. It's not about being born with extraordinary talent or having all the answers from the start. It's about the courage to take that first step, to move beyond the comfort of inaction, and to actively pursue what you envision. The vast majority will hesitate, will wait for the perfect moment, or simply do nothing, falling by the wayside. But you, by virtue of your decision to do something, to make a difference, automatically place yourself in the top 20% against all competition. That initial stride, that commitment to action, transforms you. You become part of the group that is much more likely to succeed. The high performers. The ones who don't just dream, but do. Don't underestimate the power of simply starting. It's the catalyst that propels you from the realm of wishing to the reality of achieving. Take that step and watch as the path unfolds before you.
And that's really the point I wanted to share with you this morning. As I dive deeper into this, is like when you listen to this stuff, you listen to my other episodes and see the stuff. Really look at how this stuff can impact you and how you can benefit from it. Because far too many people, they'll listen to something, they'll sit through a presentation, and then they just do nothing else. And by virtue of taking that first step, you can put yourself in that top 20%, because most people aren't very good at what they do, unfortunately. And the other reality of it is when you're not very good at what you do, you're also making yourself vulnerable to losing clients, to losing jobs, and stuff like that. And this is really, the truth when it applies to you, whether you're an employee or an entrepreneur. Retention is not something that you get. It's something that you earn. It's something that you do. And the reason that it matters is because like I said before, it's so much easier to build from a position of stability than it is to rebuild from scratch, emotionally, from stress, financially, all of those factors. Retention gets overlooked all the time because people assume today's going to look like tomorrow. And they assume that the job's secure, the job is stable, that the customers are going to stick around. The boss knows your value, that clients are going to call you when they need something, even if it's not something that you do, but for a referral. And those assumptions are risky because unknown factors show up. The market shift, global conditions change, budgets tighten, a competitor emerges, a client changes leadership, economic downturn hits, and then all of a sudden what was your current state isn't your future state anymore. Here's the key. It's easier to keep what you've got than have to go get it again. For business owners, this means it's far easier to keep a customer than spend the time and the money chasing down a new one. For employees, it's something similar. It's just with a different lens. Your employer is your customer. If someone's paying you for your service, your output, your outcomes, then functionally that person is your customer. And if you want to stay employed, grow, get promoted, stay safe during downturns, retention has to be front of mind, not just something that's abstract you think will always be there. Now, here's the twist that most people miss though. Retention isn't only about being capable, it's about being top of mind. Because when things get uncertain, when revenue drops, when layoffs happen, when priorities change, decision makers make calls, sometimes very quick calls. And if you're not top of mind, you become easy picking, not because you're the worst, but because you're not the first person they think of when they're protecting what matters. Top of mind means someone thinks about opportunity, promotion, a new role, a key project, and your name shows up immediately in their head. And that same thing is true for entrepreneurs. When a customer has a problem, and who do they think of? Even if you can't directly solve it, do they trust you enough to refer the right person? Now, a lot of people just like go on cruise control. They hope everything stays the same. And this is where so many people get it wrong. They sit back and remember everything that's in a positive light. Hope's not a strategy, though. Other people are not relying on hope. They have a plan. The real question is, what are you doing on purpose to stay top of mind with people who decide your future? Your boss, your boss's boss, your customer, your referral partners, whoever it is. There are things that can be done. And just sitting back and hoping things stay the same is the worst thing you can do. Retention requires two things. You've got to have intent, and then you've got to have execution, meaning you need a game plan of how you stay visible and that people understand your value. And it doesn't have to be complicated. Start simple. Make sure your values clear. Make sure your contributions are known. Make sure you regularly that you're always in the mental rotation of decision makers. Because doing nothing, staying silent, staying invisible, assuming that they'll remember you can be the same as head me on the list first, which is where no one wants to be. So this is the question you need to keep with yourself here. If things got tight at your company tomorrow, or if your best customers start trimming spending, would you be protected by being top of mind, or would you be relying on hope? If this hits home, share it with someone that needs to hear it, because retention is a strategy. It's not luck. And like I said, you don't have to be splitting the atom to do this. There are really simple things that you can do to move forward with this. Writing is easy. You could write blog posts, you could write an article, get it published, write a book, short or long. There is still power and credibility in writing, especially now. Almost every writing tool that you can think of, Microsoft Word, Apple Pages, Google Docs, they all have AI components that, if nothing else, use them to proofread and catch simple grammatical misspellings and stuff like that, those type of mistakes. They have other tools to use. Use them with caution. You want to always speak in your own voice instead of having someone repurpose it in a different type of tone that's not how you speak naturally. But definitely use the proofreading. That's a lot of what people don't like to write for. It doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be long. You just need to do stuff that demonstrates your expertise, that demonstrates the contributions you brought, and also the potential that you have. Now, something to think about, and keep this in mind though, if you're writing something for public consumption and it is about work and you're an employee, you need to fly that by and make sure that it's okay for you to do that. Different employers have different requirements. Also, if you're own your own business, you have to make sure that you're honoring the terms of your agreements. Also, that you're not petting customers in a uncomfortable position. There's ways to write about stuff and talk about stuff that is more generic. And that is something that you can do that kind of can avoid some of those landmines. If you're going to use someone by name, you generally need to fly by them first. That would be a really good practice to adhere to. But do the writing. It's something you can do. And one of the big advantages of doing writing too is most of it's going to be digital. Most of it's going to be accessible online somehow. And so you can send links, which makes it easy for people to view if they click the link. And that's one of the biggest problems. If people just get something, they blow through it, they blow past the email, the text, they forget about it. That's one challenge. The other thing you can do with writing, though, is you can always give them a physical copy. So if it's an article you wrote or something like that, hey, here's something I wrote. I'd like you to take a look at it. And you drop it on their desk. If it's a book, you can share that. So there's different ways to share this type of information. Now, a quick word on video. Video is obviously very powerful. I'm making this video with you right now so that we can have a better experience together. You can see who I am, you can see how I talk. It can either build my credibility with you or what other impact it's going to have. It's all good, right? Almost always, unless you suck on camera, then it's probably not a good thing to do. But video is very powerful. Same challenges though. Will people click on that link? Maybe, maybe not. You can only do so much. But that could be another very powerful option. It gives people literally the way to see and hear you, and that can add to your credibility. So those are two quick things that people can do. Almost everybody watching this probably knows about this. You're watching this video, you're listening to this podcast, you're on my social media channels. You can do the same for yourself. And that is going to help your retention efforts when you are able to demonstrate what you do. But you have to make sure that it gets to the people that matter, it gets to those decision makers. So you share that work. You have to share it with them in some way. And there's different ways to do that. If you're interested in talking about it more, DM me or send me a note at hello@chadeves.com. There's different ways that this can be done, but a lot of it is really simple and really straightforward. If you're not staying top of mind, you're staying first on the list, which is not what anyone wants to do. It's always easier, even if you're looking at different opportunities, different customers that you want to bring on board. It's always easier to do when you've got some right now and you're in a position of stability and also not having to stress out as much for sure. So stay top of mind. Do not be first on the list. Talk to you next time.